Hello everybody, my name is KingStix and today I have the biggest changes in patch 7.22, everything you need to know. Runes and masteries got combined and now it's essentially a big mastery page. There's a lot to it. Essentially, you have 5 pages. You have Precision, Dominance, Sorcery, Resolve, and Inspiration. Inspiration's trash. Resolve is for tanks. Sorcery is primarily for mages. Dominance is more for assassins, but AD or P could still use it. Precision is basically for anything that does a lot of auto attacks. AD carries, things like Warwick, anything that is auto attack reliant can use it. Personally, for my Warwick page, I'm going to be using a Precision page. For my Rammus page, I'm going to be using Resolve. And for both my Precision page, I'm going to be taking a Dominance secondary on it. As well as my Rammus page, I'm going to have a Resolve with another Dominance. Overall, you're going to find that Precision and Resolve are going to be used the most. Overall, you're going to find that Dominance is going to be the best secondary page to run along your main page. Like you saw, if I was playing Warwick, I'd take Precision with Dominance, and if I was playing a tank, I'd take Resolve with Dominance. I don't want to talk about the runes for too long because it could take me hours, so I'm just going to skip over these. You guys really need to go to your collection runes and look at them for yourselves and figure out what's best for your champions. They are very situational. Every champion in League of Legends got a slight stat change since there are no more runes and it's essentially just a big mastery page. Even though they're calling it runes because they're retarded, it's just a big mastery page. For this reason, everyone got a slight base stat upgrade. For example, every melee AD top laner got 10 armor and 10 damage. It might be slightly less, slightly more, depending on how weak they currently were. Every mid lane mage got 12 base health and 12 base health growth stat. Now it might be slightly more, slightly less depending on the champion, but it is fairly consistent. Every melee support got 20 base armor and every ranged support got 10 base armor. Every AD carry got 10 attack damage and 10 base armor. Pretty much every single tank got plus 15% attack speed at level 1 and 10 extra base armor. These rules are pretty consistent. It's fairly easy to figure out the patterns, but once again, the only thing that kind of breaks the rules are mid lane AD characters like Talon and Zed. For example, they get the most stats. They're going to get 5 health growth stat. They're going to get plus 5 base health, plus 10 attack damage, and almost along with 5 base armor. For some reason, Yasuo got a whole lot of base stats increase. I guess they feel like they're really going to need it. Another thing that I found is that Riven got a buff on her passive W and E, along with the normal plus 10 armor and plus 10 attack damage that melee AD characters receive. Another thing that I noticed is Evelyn got a pretty big change. Now, whenever she's damaged by an enemy champion, it puts her Demon Shade on a 1.5 second cooldown rather than a 4 second cooldown. This is huge. It's going to give her E a lot more damage, and it's also going to make her E come up a lot more in fights and skirmishes. Eve is going to be probably a lot more viable now than she has been. However, I do not think she will be OP or pick or ban. To compensate for this, they didn't even give her 10 base armor, they gave her 9, and they also didn't give her a secondary stat such as AD, AP, or health, so that kind of sucks for her. There's a few other champions that got slight changes on their ability, just simple base damage increases. Moving on to items, every support item got a bandit effect added to it. This means there's going to be a lot more incentive for poking down the enemy in lane since you're going to be getting extra gold. Targon's shield is getting a buff since it really needed it. Now you're going to be getting more HP whenever you kill a minion based off of how low your HP is. Spell Thief's Edge is getting a buff, going to give extra gold and damage, really needed it. Coin supports are brain dead OP. Poach's Dirk is getting a pretty big buff. This is going to make AD counter junglers like Kha'Zix and Lee Sin, Rek'Sai fairly powerful. Hunter's Machete now will be giving some extra attack speed for 2 seconds after base attacking a monster. This will help out AD junglers. Hunter's Talisman, they're buffing it for tank junglers because whenever you take the Resolve Mastery Keystone, you're going to be getting extra HP. So this is going to give you a lot more burn damage on your camps, better clears. To compensate for this, they're giving all the other junglers who take Hunter's Machete extra attack speed. They're adding a new item into the game. It's called Stopwatch. It's fairly cheap. It builds into Zhonya's Hourglass, Guardian Angel, and Gargoyle Stoneplate. It's essentially just the active of Zhonya's. It makes you untargetable for 2.5 seconds, putting you in stasis, but you can only use it one time, and after you use it, you can't use it again until you actually get the Zhonya's. And once you upgrade it into GA Gargoyle, you can no longer use it either, but you can only use it once, and once you do use it, you can still build it into these items for the same cost. It's a really cool item. It basically makes Zhonya's, GA, and Gargoyle a lot more useful until you have the full thing finished. So these will all be a lot more viable options. Lethality is getting a pretty big buff. Every lethality is getting +2 added to it. It's going to help out assassins, Zed, Talon a lot more as well. Magic penetration is also getting a huge buff, a noticeable +3 to Sork shoes, which it really needed. and also a very noticeable plus 5% on the Void Staff, which is going to help out mages a lot more in the late game, especially against tanks. Catch-up experience is getting hit really hard. This is going to make early game junglers and early game team comps a lot better and more viable, especially in the mid and high elo. Especially with the jungle comeback. If you're really behind as a jungler and you're getting counter jungled, you're going to stay behind for a lot longer. You can no longer go to a raptor camp. That's level 5. When you're level 3, farm it out, get it up to level 4.5. Now you only get bonus experience on the big monster, not all of them. So camps like Krugs and Raptors are going to be quite a bit worse. The red buff monster is now just as weak as the blue buff monster. Doesn't really matter. Everybody does slightly more damage to minions to make last hitting easier with the rune changes. Games start a little bit sooner, 10 seconds. You move faster out of base though, so you won't really notice a difference. They're adding more time into champ select because people don't understand how runes and masteries work, so there's going to be a lot of pudwinkers trying to figure out what's going on. Levels are now uncapped, so you can get to level billion if you're a no life. IP turns into blue essence. League of Legends is now Overwatch. You're going to get chests every time you level up, and that's what the whole game is going to revolve around. Level 1 through 30 is a lot easier. You can get to level 30, start playing ranked games sooner. Also, you're going to be able to buy a little bit more champions by the time you are level 30 to make up for the fact that you're getting there sooner. IP boost no longer exists. However, you can buy XP boost, and since you get chests and shit every time you level up, it's essentially an IP boost. So XP boost costs quite a bit more now. Ascension is coming back. I honestly kind of like Ascension, and they're adding quite a bit to it. Definitely check that out. There's a few skin bug fixes that don't really matter. Emotes now drop in Hex Tech crafting, which is whatever. Emotes are cancer anyways, so I mute emotes on my team and enemy team won't really matter for me. And there's a few upcoming skins, and that is really everything in this patch. The biggest things to take away from it is counter jungling is going to be quite a bit stronger now. Early game comps are going to be more viable, especially in mid to high elo. And lower elo games are still going to go fairly long just because people don't know how to end or when to end. Tanks are getting hit pretty hard in the late game and mid game since lethality and magic penetration got buffed. There's really no tank item that got buffed. And those are the most important things you need to know about patch 7.22. My name is KingStix. If you guys enjoyed this video and want to support me, it would help me out tremendously if you like, comment, and subscribe. It helps out a lot more than you think. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you guys next time.